Hi people and hello my Chilli and Carnage crew, it's Chilli here from Live Listen Erased, and on this special episode we're going to be talking about one of my favourite bands of all time. This is going to be of course the Red Hot Chili Peppers and a namesake for my name, Chilli. So, of course in this one we're going to be talking about their records, we're going to be talking about all their albums and putting it on a ranking list. We're talking about from worst to best. And there is a lot of records when you're going over their history because they're a band that have been around for a long time. So, let's get into this because we have a lot of things to cover. Let's go with the first one, their worst album. Let's start off here with the bottom of the barrel, and it's going to be I'm Beside You. This was a collection of B-sides and outtakes from the I'm With You record, and, well, I mean, you got 17 tracks here, a lot of goddamn work on offer from the sessions that were I'm With You. And, you know, from this, I guess, 17 songs didn't make the record, the original record anyway, but they did make a return for their B-sides, outtakes, and release them as singles. Kind of reminds me, of course, with their more recent efforts, of course, where they released something like 50 tracks. I think they recorded, 50 tracks. They haven't released them all yet, but we have had 2 records. But I'm Beside You was released as singles for a couple of months anyway, and it was like 2 tracks at a time, and it was kind of interesting. I like the aspect of where they were coming from. I appreciate that. You know, it's a unique thing at the time when streaming music was relatively new and on Spotify, and you know, each single was making up this little quadrant of a picture, so that when you merge them all together on your Spotify playlist, it would make a large picture that you could see. And I thought that was a really awesome idea anyway. Unfortunately though, when you're going over this, it was very average music that of course was left off the record for a reason. And you know, I'm With You, we'll get into that a little bit later on, but unfortunately the I'm Beside You outtakes were very forgettable. It was just a very average record, and it's unfortunate. You know, there are 17 tracks on offer and it's like over 70 minutes of music and just so damn boring that I just don't recall any tracks from here. You know, at least with the next one that we're going to be talking about, while not my favourite, it still had memorable tracks. I just don't really recall going through any of these songs here and going, oh, I like this song. It was just so bland, dull, lifeless, and I don't care for it. I don't think they even play these songs live. That's how bad it is. At least with any of their other works, they will play it live. This, I'm not familiar with. I just don't think they even care. But anyway, this was the bottom of the barrel. So yes, worst album, I'm Beside You, people. So to follow up from that record, where do we go? Well, we're going to go with last year's album, Unlimited Love, people. This was a huge release at the time because, yes, of course, John Frusciante is back on the guitar duties, and they had recorded, as I said from the previous one, like 52 tracks. There was a plethora of music that was just coming out of Red Hot Chili Peppers Bandcamp, and as a massive Chili Peppers fan, I was fucking excited about this. Me and Doz, we did a special episode in regards to the Unlimited Love album, you know, to hear them coming back and saying, hey, we got like 17 songs coming out, and bam, you know, here it is. And you know what, the first single is interesting. It was Black Summer. Not bad, not great, it was just a bit weird. But you know, it was like from that point onwards, it was an air of I don't know, like, oh, is this really a good move that we want to see from the Red Hot Chili Peppers? 52 songs, and of course Unlimited Love comes out, and there was the announcement of the future album to come out a few months later. That was of course, you know, the Return of the Dream Canteen, and even only recently they had released their newest single. What was it called? Tip of My Tongue or something? No, that was another single. But you know what? They just released The Shape I'm Taking. That was the name of it. And I think this isn't the last that we're going to be hearing from those sessions, because they still have something like 13, 14 tracks that are unreleased. I do believe that in the next couple of months, at least next year in 2024, we will see another Red Hot Chili Peppers release from this session. So that is my thoughts in regards to the second worst album, I guess. Unlimited Love. It was just a boring, drab affair that didn't really have anything here that stood out. It was so dull and lifeless. You know, going over these tracks, there was, as I said, Black Summer, not a bad song. Aquatic Mouth Dance, decent enough. But then the rest of it just keeps going and just is going again more. It's just not a fun album to listen to over their back catalogue. So, unfortunate, but that's how I see it anyway. This is my list, and I will sit it here at the very bottom, next to, of course, I'm Beside You. The next album that I'm going to put on my list from worst to best is going to be the Red Hot Chili Peppers debut album. Overall, this isn't a terrible album, but of course, Chili Peppers fans who I guess are more familiar with their 90s era stuff onwards would be forgiven to, I guess, forget that they have been around since 1984. The band are 40 years old in their runtime, of course. I think they started all the way back in 1983 with Flea and Anthony, but the original guitarist back then was Jack Sherman, I believe, and he only passed away a couple of years ago, unfortunately, heart attack. But he only had the one album, and it was the debut album from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. This, this color stain of a looks like a 3D artwork or something like that. Like, do I need glasses to put on to look at this artwork? Because it seriously looks like that with that red and blue coloring. It's an interesting album artwork, and I think it really personifies the music on offer. There is some interesting cuts here, very deep cuts from this album that many fans wouldn't really go back and play. True Men Don't Kill Coyotes, for example, is a pretty sick track, and some other ones such as, I guess, Get Up and Jump and Out in LA. Although, on the other hand, there are really weird tracks that I just don't feel comfortable with, such as Mommy Where's Daddy. That is a really weird track that has not aged well when you're listening to the lyrics of it. Red Hot Chili Peppers have never ever hidden their sexual adventures and stuff like that, and Mommy Where's Daddy is just one of those songs that just feels plain weird. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if they're telling a tale here that is forbidden or cautionary or what, but I just don't get what they're going for, what the agenda is. As for some of the other tracks here, Green Heaven, for example, Why Don't You Love Me, there are some really cool tracks, and it's very funk, I wouldn't say metal, but it's very funk rock orientated. It's interesting to see that, when you're going through the early 80s, probably the Red Hot Chili Peppers is where it all really starts. A lot of people will say, that funk metal era kicked off with Faith No More and bands like that. But then you're kind of omitting the fact that Red Hot Chili Peppers were around a few years prior to Faith No More and, their up-and-coming records that came out in 85 and onwards. Red Hot Chili Peppers were killing the scene and doing these weird things that they were just up on stage, either naked with socks on cocks routine or just out there with a power white suit, which is what Anthony Kiedis would do often in some of his earlier shows, and I will talk about that on one of the future records coming up a bit later. Of course, there's a weird story between that and NoFX, so stay tuned for the rest of this episode. But yeah, look, Red Hot Chili Peppers' debut album is unfortunately at the bottom of the barrel. It shows raw potential. It's an interesting album, this band full of attitude and so much to give, but it's so unpolished on the other side that it just doesn't sound too good, especially compared to what of course would come from the band a bit later on in their career. So yes, if you are a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan and you haven't heard of anything pre-Blood Sugar Sex Magic, I do recommend that you go back to it, but maybe this one might be the last one that you hear. It's definitely some other records that'll come up a bit later on here that I do recommend over this, but it's still got some interesting takes. So yeah, this is where that album sits. For the next album on my list of worst to best, I'm going to go with I'm With You. Now, of course, this was Josh Klinghoffer's, I feel like I'm always mispronouncing his name. Josh's first album with the band since, of course, John Frusciante left. Now, Josh was John's... It's such a confusing name, Josh and John. But Josh was John's guitar tech for many years prior to this. So, John taught him a lot. They actually worked together on some solo records of John's and played together on some tracks as well. So, Josh really knew how to work his style and play into it. He, of course, has been with a few other bands as well, of which I can't recall, so maybe you might want to comment below and tell me. But anyway, I'm With You was, of course, the departure of John. Josh, the guitar tech, takes over, and I guess it's like a dream come true, isn't it? You're this guitar tech for an amazing band, an amazing guitarist, despite what many people might say, but, this is your chance to shine. You're going to play music with us, and we're going to record an album now with you. You're a full-time member, and I'm With You is the first effort. Unfortunately, this album was pretty dull, lifeless, and didn't have much going for it. A lot of filler, a lot of crap involved in this for a relatively short record by Red Hot Chili Peppers standards. It's only like 60 minutes long, 14 tracks. So yes, it's a bit of a shorter one compared to some of their stuff. And you know what? It's not all terrible. There are certainly some highlights. For example, Brendan's Death Song is a fantastic track. Again, Red Hot Chili Peppers have just banded around a tragedy in their life. Brendan, I might be getting confused on the story here, but I'm pretty sure he was a music promoter or a club owner who supported the Red Hot Chili Peppers way back in the day in LA and passed away. And of course, they wanted to honour him and did so with this song, Brendan's Death Song. Not the first time the Red Hot Chili Peppers have, of course, done a song about the death of someone close to them, and really nailed it. They just have this, Red Hot Chili Peppers have this unfortunate ability to capture personal grievances, put it to music in such a fantastic way. And of course, Brendan's Death Song just continues on that path. But, outside of that, Monarchy of Roses, a good song. The first half really blows onto it. The Adventures of Rain Dance Maggie, wow, that is a good track. And even going over the counts here, 142 million plays, you can't be wrong with that one. But yes, it's a good track. But unfortunately, it's this song that this album that really, from the first couple of tracks, is good. Then there's a bit of filler, Annie Wants a Baby and stuff like that. Ethiopia. Then it gets the good track again, and then the second half of the album just dives. It dives and dies in the process. There is just not a lot of songs here that I just found intriguing. It's a very forgettable album in the grand scheme of things, which is unfortunate. And it's unfortunate, of course, that Josh's first album with the band turned out like this. But it is what it is, people. So yeah, this is my list, and this is where I put it, everyone. Not one of my favourites. Okay, people, from here on out, we are starting to get to some really good albums from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now, the next one for me is one that I really enjoy, and that is going to be Freaky Styley. I love this album, and it is one of their earlier works again. Back in 1985, the band was, of course, out there pumping records, and this was the introduction of their second guitarist, Hillel Slovak, who had a massive influence in the band and their sound moving forward, and of course would have a massive impact on the band in their future. Now, Hillel Slovak has a very unfortunate story in the band's history, and I will outline this as well coming up in a future couple of albums. But you know what? It's a bit unfortunate, I suppose, that Freaky Styley gets ranked so low, but when you're looking over the grand scheme of their albums, it's understandable because, Freaky Styley is a good album, but it's not great. And it's not great especially compared to some of their future works. It's different as well. It's vastly different to stuff moving up into the 90s era. So when I said, if you haven't heard of anything before Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Freaky Styley is really one of those albums that you really need to go back and listen to, because Hillel Slovak has this interesting style of guitar work that was, I don't know how to say it, he brought to the band these elements of funk, speed, metal almost in parts, like Eastern styles as well, with sitar type of tuning on his guitar work and playing. and was a massive influence throughout many members of the band, including Flea. So Freaky Styley has some incredible songs on offer here that are just massive deep cuts, and it's really criminal looking over the play counts compared to some of their future stuff. But again, most people don't really dive into the early era of, this band, and it's really unfortunate because they got a lot of stuff here. Jungle Man, Hollywood, Africa, another great song. American Ghost Dance, great tune. American Ghost Dance, yeah, I love that one. Freaky Style, the title track, Black Eyed Blonde, The Brothers Cup, one of those weird tracks as well. But for me, one of my favorites, if not my favorite song of all time by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, is on Freaky Styley, and that will be the track Catholic Schoolgirls Rule. When people say that the Red Hot Chili Peppers had this punk influence back in the day, Catholic Schoolgirls Rule is the personification of that punk influence, because it is a very short track. It's under 2 minutes song, and it's just this very quick punk orientated riff just thrown into it, and the lyrics are so overtly sexualized. It's amazing. We're talking about measuring how deep your throat is and stuff like that with a ruler and blah 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 blah. You can imagine the shit that got up to them. So what was it inspired by? I'll leave that to your imagination, people. You've probably seen enough stuff on the internet to know. But I was very lucky that when I saw the Stadium Arcadium tour, they actually played this song live, and I think Doz said it perfectly. You're probably one of the only ones who actually knows this song in the crowd, and I loved all 2 minutes of it. So yeah, a fantastic album here by the band, and one that really needs to go back and listen to a lot more. Come back to this album, play it, because it really is good. Alright, now we're going into the 90s era of Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now, of course, we're going to kick it off with One Hot Minute, and this one really does cop a lot of flack. A lot of flack, I should really say. Dave Navarro joins the Red Hot Chili Peppers after John's first departure with the band, and that was, of course, due, I think it was to his rampant drug use, wanted to get clean, or no, he didn't really get clean, but anyway, he had to get out of the band. With that, they needed a guitarist, and Dave joins the group. Now, of course, Dave is most famous for being the guitarist of Jane's Addiction. They're a group that have been around for a little while, but I think they only released 2 good albums. That's my hot take right there. But yeah, look, One Hot Minute, it gets overlooked by a lot of people for various reasons. It's very different to the rest of the 90s era Red Hot Chili Peppers works, and really their whole catalogue. But I think it's still a very good album. It's still got a lot of strong tracks on there. People often cite, oh yeah, it's very weird for their 90s era. Yeah, but have you seen their 80s era? It's almost in line to that, to a bit of a degree. So it's interesting to see that Dave's, I guess, tapped into that section, brought it in for a bit more of a modern sound. But Dave's probably not the right fit for the group. To a degree he was, but I think he brought much more of a heavier sound to them that wasn't really for them. Very much so. John's style is perfect for the group. He allows them to easily flow and do other sections. I mean, Flea is a tremendous bass player in the rock and roll world, and a lot of the music a lot of the stuff that John Frusciante plays allows for Flea to come to the forefront. Dave's guitar is more heavy-handed. It takes the forefront of that music. It kind of takes away a lot from Flea and the bass work and all the rest of the rhythm sections from Chad Smith and such. So, Hillel was another example that is fantastic guitar work that isn't up at the forefront again. Keep using this word, but it allowed the music still to traverse within the band. So yeah, One Hot Minute is a bit of a hot take for the group and a lot of people, and there's still a lot of good tracks. You've got Airplane, very good track. My Friends is a fantastic song, really killer track actually. P, Coffee Shop, interesting one. P is a weird one, little bass work there. So One Big Mob I think was alright. Walkabout, another good one, and Tearjerker. But you fall all the way to the rest of the other ones. I don't know. Transcendent was okay. Shallow B Thigh Game, and a few other tracks within. But at the end of the day, it's just not a really good album. There's a lot of, it's a hit and miss album, I think is what it's probably best described as. You know, there's a lot of tracks on there that are really good, and then there's a lot of tracks that just aren't very good. And that's the problem with this record, it's a bit inconsistent. So unfortunately, yeah, it falls wayside for very many reasons. Probably gets overlooked by a lot of people, but this is where it sits on my side of the list anyway. Next up on my list of Red Hot Chili Peppers albums ranked is the Uplift Mofo Party Plan. Now, this is easily the strongest Hillel Slovak album, and the last Hillel Slovak album. Unfortunately, Hillel would pass away from an overdose, I think it was, of heroin, and this would be a profound event in the band's history. Now, when it comes to the Uplift Mofo Party Plan, this is where the Chili Peppers are really starting to take off. You know, they've got these fantastic tracks on offer, and this is easily one of their best works from the 80s, but not the best, because that one will come up a bit later. But, you know, they've got fantastic tracks on offer here, and the band's really coming into their own with tracks like Fight Like a Brave, which is absolutely amazing. Funky Crime's good, but Me and My Friends, great bass line there from Flea throughout that song. And then you keep on going down the track list here. You know, Skinny Sweaty Man is good. Behind the Sun, another really cool one. Subterranean, Homesick Blues, and Love Trilogy is an interesting little piece as well. I like that one. And Backwards, I think it was the other track I really do enjoy. Now, it was, of course, around about this time that Hillel Slovak and co were... the way that they would tour, I guess, Socks on Cox routine, the old school Red Hot Chili Peppers method. And I mentioned earlier that I would talk about the tie-in in regards to NoFX and the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which also has Green Day involved. And the one that is, I think it's around about this time here, was that NoFX went to go see the Red Hot Chili Peppers before. They took their van out and they parked it up. And then they, in the concert, I think they stole Anthony's like white suit at the time. And they left. They left the gig, got his white suit that he always wore, and hopped in the van. Then they started cruising down LA, and all of a sudden there's this knocking on the back of the van. And they're thinking, oh man, we must have busted a tyre, so they pull on over. And when they look, there's no flat tyre, but the knocking comes from inside the van. And it turns out they open up the door, and out pops this like 12-year-old kid. They're thinking, shit, what the hell? This 12-year-old kid's coming, oh man, he is drunk. He is a bit drunk. Sorry guys, I just got in the back of the van. I was going to see the Chili Peppers, but I got too wasted, and I just wanted somewhere safe to stay. So he popped in this van. Obviously when they left, he was being knocked about, got woken up, and yeah, for a moment it's like kidnapping. Anyway, so they left that guy, and he went on his own way. It turns out that person was Billy Joel from Green Day. So there's the weird story of Red Hot Chili Peppers' connection to NoFX, which ended up with kidnapping of Billy Joel from Green Day. That is a really cool story. If you don't know about it, check out the NoFX book, the autobiography, The Hepatitis Bathtub, because it goes into a bit more depth. But yeah, the Red Hot Chili Peppers have some interesting ties as well. I think a lot with NoFX. I think it's not the last time they crossed paths as well. But yeah, the Uplift Mofo Party Plan was a really good album. Fantastic one from the 80s. It is their last in their real funk metal. Oh no, well, actually I won't say that. That's a bit wrong. It's a bit of their last funk party styling, I guess you could call it. You know, but that's another thing. That would also be the last time that, I think it was Jack Irons was the drummer. Jack Irons was the drummer for the first couple of albums. He would also go on to become the drummer for Pearl Jam, I think it was, with No Code. I'm trying to remember now. But yeah, he's done a few. Yeah, he's done Mark Lanigan, I'm just reading here, Pearl Jam, What Is This Rockabilly, and a few other bands, including Les Claypool. But yeah, I think it was No Code that Jeremy Irons worked on with. So yeah, Jeremy Irons would leave shortly after this, and a new drummer would join the fold with, of course, Chad Smith. Fantastic drummer there. But yeah, so this would be the last time before the Red Hot Chili Peppers really mixed up the crowds there. You know, guitarist would pass away, drummer would leave. They had to find a new well, rhythm section and lead guitar section. So yeah, the Uplift Mofo Party Plan, fantastic album. It's very underrated, I feel, in their catalogue and overshadowed by a lot of their stuff. If you haven't heard it, make sure to go check it out because it has a lot of really good tunes on offer. Okay, for the next album that we have ranked, we're going to be jumping over to Josh Klinghoffer's second effort with the group on The Getaway. Now, this is a pretty good return of form, I guess, to Red Hot Chili Peppers, and in particular, the efforts of Josh. You know, it was an album that, of course, had problems of, I guess, with the follow-up of their previous efforts. You know, there was this previous works they just weren't very good. Then you got The Getaway coming out, and people were like, the Red Hot Chili Peppers still relevant? You know, John Frusciante's left the group. They kind of felt like there's a lot of personal disconnection. And, you know, when Josh took over John's role, he had big shoes to fill, and didn't really land that mark with, you know, his first one with I'm With You. But The Getaway, it really shows him in his own grounds, doing his own thing, and trying to achieve something that the band had really struggled with for the last couple of records. You know, Dark Necessities is a fantastic track, The Getaway as well. All these tracks here, Goodbye Angels and Sick Love, are fairly overlooked songs from the group, I feel anyway, you know, compared to a lot of the other songs that they have. But at the end of the day, I forgot to say, I caught the Red Hot Chili Peppers around about this time for their live concert, so it was really fun to, I guess, see this band performing. Also, Dreams of Samurai, I've got to mention, that track is a really, really cool deep cut. So, I managed to catch the band around about this time, and they came out with George Clinton of Parliament fame, and that was really cool, because George Clinton, absolute fantastic singer-songwriter, and he came out with like his 29 member band, and I've never seen so many people take one stage, and you know, just killed it. He fucking killed it on stage, people. George Clinton, the bloody 70-something-year-old, sitting there just playing guitar with his wicked dreads of wicked colours, you know, and for him to come out, and then of course Flea comes out afterwards and it's like, that right there is my hero, you know, and to be able to tour with him is just next level. Put this in hindsight to the worst concert of my life, which again was the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they basically were at a terrible time in their band's career. I'll get into it a bit future, but you know, then the next time, of course, I managed to see Red Hot Chili Peppers, fantastic concert, they killed it, and it was without John, and I felt kind of gutted, but it was a really good concert, you know. George Clinton, fantastic, absolutely nailed it. And then the Red Hot Chili Peppers come out, play all the tunes that you want to hear, and did it right. And it was great. It was a fantastic redemption, I guess. So yeah, The Getaway is a fantastic record in the group, one that I don't often come back to, unfortunately, too much. But when I do, it's one of those ones like, damn it, I forgot about you. You're so beautiful. So yeah, there are some really good tracks on offer. Fantastic record from the group. For this next album, we're going to be talking about the return of the Dream Canteen. And yes, this is the Red Hot Chili Peppers' most recent album, and I believe it is one of their finest records they've put out to date in quite some time. So, Return of the Dream Canteen, of course, is the most recent one. With John and co, he returned. They recorded like 50-something songs, and this is the second album to come out of the sessions that were involved in that. We are yet to see the third album. Of course, the Red Hot Chili Peppers have released a single from the up-and-coming, unreleased third record part of it. But the Return of the Dream Canteen is a much better album compared to, I guess, Unlimited Love. And the Return of the Dream Canteen had a fantastic single leading off it, Tip of My Tongue. I thought it was a really funky tune. But I guess what really made this one a bit more unique was it's a bit of an evolution in the Red Hot Chili Peppers sound, one that was rather unseen, because at the end of this, I guess, looking over it, hindsight's always the best. You know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers have evolved their sound over time. You've got the early 80s kind of punk, funk, raw era, and then it moves into the 90s in regards to alternative, mellow tunes, much more funkier, but mellow funk, I guess you could describe it. And you know, even moving up to the 2000s, not much changed. And then now, with return of the Dream Canteen, you can see a band that is wanting to try other things, I guess, want to do something new and evolve their sound. And at this point, they don't care. You know, they're the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They've already done what they have out there. They can't change that. So why not just try something different? You know, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's go nuts. Let's do what we want to do and just see what happens, I guess. And this is, I guess, one of those albums where a band change their sound and it is good in a good way. You know, probably burned a lot of bridges from old school fans, but I think, you know, tracks like My Cigarette, which was electronic compared to anything they've ever released, you know, it's very electronic, weird track, odd lyrics, is a really cool track. It was a really interesting one. You know, Fake as Fuck was another cool song, I thought. Bella, Tip of My Tongue, as I said, fantastic lead single from the album there, as well as Eddie, another song born out of course, the death of a fallen musician. Red Hot Chili Peppers really have that method to band around grief and write something beautiful out of it, you know, and it just continues again with the track Eddie, you know, fallen comrade with Eddie Van Halen, who passed away just prior to this record. Now, you know, there are odd tracks here and there, La 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 La, for example. Copperbelly, actually Copperbelly's a really good track. I love Copperbelly. But, you know, there's a couple of tracks. There's a lot of tracks here. 17 on offer. Long record, just about 80 minutes long or something like that. But maybe a few could have been cut off at the end of the day. It's kind of like, I guess, the status with I'm With You and I'm Beside You. You know, here is an album and then here is the B-sides. If this was the B-sides to Unlimited Love, then damn, the B-sides were better. That's what I have to say. So I think this is a really cool album from the group and a really good return to form. You know, after Unlimited Love, I felt a bit gutted that, you know, damn it, John is back, but it's such a waste. They're just not doing anything. Not even playing it safe. They're just doing dumb shit. And it's a waste of talent because, you know, John, when he's with Red Hot Chili Peppers, they do some really cool stuff together. But Return of the Dream Canteen is, you know, fuck it, let's just do what we want and do a little bit of experimentation in the process. And it paid off. It really did. I love this album, Return of the Dream Canteen. It'll be interesting moving forward to see if they do end up releasing a third album or not. Because, as I said, there was something like 50-something songs. So to date, there are 38 tracks released out of that record. So there's something like 38. There's something like 12, 13 tracks or something like that still haven't been released, not including the more recent one, The Shape I'm Taking. So I don't know. It'll be cool to see what happens moving forward with that. And I guess we shall see what the future has to hold for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, because I guarantee you they will release those singles eventually. The next album is going to be the album that really kickstarted my love affair for the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know, I was starting to get into them around about this stage, but this was the first album that they released around about the time that I was getting into them. And that is, of course, By the Way. I remember this album. I distinctly remember this album coming out. You know, they had the video clips for tracks like Can't Stop, the Zephyr song, Universally Speaking, By the Way was a big one, of course. And, I mean, this is a really sick album. I can't stress the amount of times I played this record. I got this album, played it with a lot of friends who were massive Red Hot Chili Peppers fans at the time, and it's such this bonding moment, I guess, with friends. You know, when you bond with friends over the love for a band, there's nothing quite like it. It's very powerful. You always remember these things because music is a strong, emotion to bring up. And, you know, if you have memories tied to a song, and I guarantee you do, if you heard a song that goes back to your childhood or whatever, makes you remember things, you can very, very vividly remember that memory. There's a couple of tracks at least I can think of, but not going to go into that one. But By the Way was this album that was brought out, as I said, remember at the time that I started getting into the Chili Peppers, and it is just such a kick-ass album. So yeah, of course, moving on from this part onwards, we're talking about mad albums. These are really sick releases. So yes, of course, by the way, universally speaking, Dosed, the Zephyr song, Can't Stop. I mean, look, Jesus, I just saw there, the Can't Stop's got 1 billion plays, people. Can't Stop has 1 billion plays, and of course it does, because it's such a fucking sick tune. Then, you know, like, it goes into the second half of the album. Again, this is another, like, 16 tracks or something on a record, but the last half of the record kind of did lack a bit. Throwaway Television was kind of cool, but a bit repetitive. Cabron, I never really got into that one. Cabron, you know, it was a bit weird for me. Kind of irked me a bit. Tear or Tear, I don't know how to pronounce that one, but one of the things I must say is Venice Queen. Fantastic track there with the ending one, and a really, really awesome track. I love the guitar work on that. The beginning part, you know, it's just this very mellow, and I remember it being used in a video that I was watching of a snowboarder, you know, and the video clip was a great hype video. The guy's talking about, oh, this is what I do, I'm a snowboarder, I'm a professional snowboarder, you know, I gotta push myself, and this music was in the background, and it's like kind of the build-up moment, you know, to the helicopter landing on the peak of this massively daunting mountain. You know, he lands on it, or no, he didn't land on it, he jumped out the fucking helicopter to get down, but you know, he's just jumped on this helicopter, goes down a peak just at the point where the song kicks off, and it was a fantastic use of the song, and that really evoked, you know, my love for the track Venice Queen there. Sorry, I might be talking there, but yeah, Venice Queen was fantastic there. I love that track, and if you're unfamiliar with it, because it is at the very end of the album, and you know, obviously last tracks for records always do get overlooked, make sure to go back and play it, because damn, it is a really solid track. I think you might find that it gets added to your playlist, because yeah, it's a solid fucker. Anyway, yeah, by the way, fantastic album, great memories for the band in regards to this one. Love it. Okay then, guys, the next one I have to talk about is, of course, the best album from the 80s era of the band. We are going to be talking about Mother's Milk. This album is fantastic, and when I talk about the early days of Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know, pre-Blood Sugar Sex Magik, this is the album you start at. It is, of course, the first record that was with Chad and, of course, John, so, you know, you're bringing in this different dynamic to the band. So, you know, Hillel passed away, very unfortunate, and of course Chad is just a fantastic drummer, absolutely powerful and incredible drummer, and John, very young at the time, I think he was like 17 when he was recording this album, is just phenomenal. And there is this, how do I describe it, because this album is very odd, it's peculiar, sorry, that is the best way to describe it, because as I said, the early times of Red Hot Chili Peppers are very raw, passionate energy, you know, punk would be the word that gets thrown around a lot, and they have this high funk energy. And then of course you move on to Blood Sugar Sex Magik, when the band just goes, alright, let's do acoustic stuff, slow it down and bring it down and feel a bit more grounded. Not all of it was, of course, there's a lot of funk stuff, but still, Mother's Milk is that transition, that bridge that sits between the early 80s stuff to the 90s era and beyond. It is a fantastic record that I just love to this day, and I don't think there's any bad tracks here. I really don't think there is. There is a lot of history on a lot of these tracks, so let's see if I can cover this quickly, because fantastic opener with the Good Time Boys, bit of an odd mix for the production on that one, which probably was on purpose, but Higher Ground, obviously a cover of Stevie Wonder there, fantastic. Subway to Venus is cool, Magic Johnson, I love it. Nobody Weird Like Me, you know, just this high power, yeah, Knock Me Down is a really sick track. That one is dedicated, I think, to Hillel Slovak in regards to his, you know, life of heroin and, you know, what subsequently happened. So, you know, it was one of the first tracks that they dedicated to their former bandmate there. Taste the Pain, I feel like that was as well. Fire, which is another, actually, sorry, back it up. Stone Cold Bush, absolutely phenomenal. Fire, a cover of Jimi Hendrix, but done really fast, really passionately, and I love that cover. Pretty Little Ditty is interesting. This little version song, this little song there, I should say, and it is actually. Its reference, if you listen to punk rock, Pretty Little Ditty, I'm pretty sure that was used by Crazy, what was the name of that group? Crazy Town, for their song, You're My Butterfly Sugar Baby, yeah. That bass line that they took out of the song for the whole track is actually just a section of Pretty Little Ditty from Mother's Milk. Now, I love that because, yeah, I remember the first time I heard it, Mother's Milk, I should say, reiterate, was after Crazy Town had done that song years after, I think. And then I heard Pretty Little Ditty and I'm like, holy crap, that's the Crazy Town hit riff, you know? And yeah, obviously I learned that they actually took the hook from this song and made it their own. So yeah, Pretty Little Ditty is a fantastic little one there. Punk rock classic, again, paying homage to their kind of history. Sexy Mexican Maid. Yep, that's a cool song. I love that one. And obviously tells a nice little story regarding that. Johnny Kick a Hole in the Sky, cool track. And then it all closes with the longest track they've ever put out to record. Song that made us what we are today. I think it's like a quasi-live recording from memory. And it's like 13 minutes long. You know, just this really nice jam. It's kind of like a Jimi Hendrix, again, inspired tune where we're just going to play and let it go rolling out there. And that's where it would end on the official release, but when it was re-released a few years later, there was a few other tracks that were added, you know, Salute the Kareem, Castles Made of Sand, again another Hendrix cover there, and Crosstown Traffic, again another Jimi Hendrix song there, both of those live versions. So, yeah, Mother's Milk, people, if you haven't heard of this album, if you haven't played this album in full and only heard the good tracks, the ones that are very well known, you are doing yourself a disservice being a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan. You must listen to Mother's Milk, because I just feel like it's one of the most underappreciated albums of the band's history. You know, a lot of people, they want to know about the 80s era, and Mother's Milk gets just overlooked so much, and going over these play counts, I see that it is. I know you're not listening to them. I want you to do your homework. Your job, by the end of this week, is to go out and listen to Mother's Milk, people. Make sure you do, come back, because I'll be scoring you in a test later. But seriously though, Mother's Milk, fucking amazing. Okay people, there are only 3 more albums to be adding to the list, from worst to best. Where do the albums sit? Where do you reckon it is going to be, people? Well, let's not keep you in suspense much further. I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here and say Californication is the next album in my list here. You know, Californication is just one of those near perfect records. It's fucking amazing. And I mean, just look at this album cover here. It's so damn mesmerizing. That blue on orange mix in a pool is surrealism at its finest. You know, it's something like Salvador Dali would almost imagine, or rather Picasso, I don't know, one of those surrealism artists. People, if you're an artist, let me know, someone who you would imagine anyway. You know, here it is this the blue sky or the orange sand beneath me? But I don't know. And then of course the fantastic wordplay that is Californication, just representing the band so well. I don't think I really need to talk about this album too much, everyone knows it by now, but well, we're going to dive into it. So yes, of course, we have Around the World. Fantastic video clip for that one. Didn't that one have like the Crazy Taxi reference in it? Or was that? No, that was Californication. But still, Around the World. Absolutely cool track. Parallel Universe was cool. Scar Tissue. Other Side. Get on Top. Get on Top. Just really... It's a bit of an underused track, especially going over the counts here. You go over the first couple of tracks, each one of these have like over 100 million plays, except for Get on Top. But then, of course, Californication, the title track, over 1 billion plays, easily there, for no reason. I don't know why. Why does it have over 1 billion plays? Anyone? Can you shed light on that? Because I have no idea. But then you move on, I feel like this is where it steps off the trip there. Because going by the counts, everyone's missing the rest of this. Easily Porcelain. I mean, Porcelain is really cool. Emit Remus is cool. I like Dirt, was alright. It's, I don't know. This Velvet Glove is another good one. Savior, Purple Stain. I mean, yeah, all of these are tracks that I don't recall straight away, but I can easily tell you that they are really good on the playthrough. There's not really anything that you would just want to miss. And of course, we've got to close it out there with Road Tripping, because yeah, Road Tripping with my 3 favorite allies was just a really sick way to end it. So yeah, Californication, people, that's where it sits on my list. Yeah, that's a spanner. So, where does my second album sit in this? Am I going to do another spanner in the works? Not really. I guess it is for me though when I'm looking over it, because yeah, if you asked me maybe a couple of years ago where this album sat, it would have sat at number 1, and that is Stadium Arcadium, because this album means so much to me. I know a lot of people would rank it highly, but not this highly. But for me, there is so much going on behind the scenes here. Again, this is a long bloody album by them. It's 2 discs, 29 tracks, is it? I feel like there was a bonus track added there. 28 tracks, that's right. Didn't look right to me. Some nearly 2.5 hours worth of material. And it just has so many good tracks on offer. Unfortunately, though, when I saw them at this tour, the Red Hot Chili Peppers really sucked and left a sour mood in my mouth. Because, well, this was them at the end of their Stadium Arcadium tour, and John and co were just fighting and not getting along. It was just a long, grueling tour that they hated, and of course John was leaving the band shortly after that from fighting, and it was just a bad time in the band's history. On top of that, the band that they have for the opener, I think it was Harmar Superstar, absolutely sucked and were terrible and got booed off stage actually. So when that happened, Flea ran back on stage to go, "You guys suck for doing that, you should never boo anyone." It's like, dude, we didn't pay to see Harmar Superstar, so I'll boo who I want. But obviously that left a sour mood in Flea for the rest of the night, on top of the bad, long, grueling concert that was Stadium Arcadium. So yeah, that left the highly energetic and usually positive Flea in a bad mood, and it really showed for the rest of the concert. They just did not really want to play and felt like they were just there for the money, I guess you could say. So it sucked. It was really bad time in the band. Now, talking about the songs, of course, Danny California, everyone knows that tune when it came out. Sorry, I just want to back this one up again. Stadium Arcadium as well was another one for me that is a massive nostalgia boner, because I remember being, in school, just at the arse end of high school actually, and when this album came out, me and a couple of my friends would just go down to a tennis court just near his place, and we would just set up, a CD player. Just one of those portable boom boxes out there, pumping Stadium Arcadium, playing tennis in the middle of the summer, getting our sweat on, and just play tennis for hours. It was fucking amazing. It was a great time just to be sitting back, enjoying ourselves, pumping awesome tunes and creating awesome memories and stuff that I still think about to this day. If I'm listening to Stadium Arcadium, I think of that time in summer years ago where we were just playing tennis, blasting that, kicking back, having drinks after. Because yeah, those are the type of memories you want to create with music. Just really sick memories like that. So yeah, Danny California, huge song off the go. Snow Hey-O, another one with just this really weird tuning, I'm pretty sure, that gets talked about so much, even with the solo as well. So guitar players, if you're watching this video still, talk about it. Comment below. Tell me how hard it is to play Snow, because from what I understand, it's very goddamn hard. Anyway, you're moving on. You got Charlie, Stadium Arcadium, good one. Hump the Bump, she's only 18, but just like the Rolling Stones. Anyway, Slow Cheater, I love that one. Stripped My Mind, especially in Michigan. Warlocks was a song that I loved, but of course, Wet Sand. Wow, what a song that was. By the time we got to that end of the disc, it was perfect when it was physically released, because what is it? I think it was 60 minutes roughly per disc. You know, and when you heard the first disc, it was just short enough so you could kind of space it out. Maybe you wanted to listen to the second disc a couple of hours later, you know, or something like that. So there was this weird perfect timing. Like other Red Hot Chili Peppers albums are usually 70 minutes plus, but this one was shorter because of the way it was set up. So yeah, you moved on to the second album. I always overlook this part of the record here, and it looks like by the counts here, so did everyone else. You had Desecration Smile, yeah, not good one, not a bad one. Tell Me Baby, okay. 21st Century I thought was pretty sweet. Ready Made and If, Make You Feel Better. And, you know, these tracks, there's a lot of tracks I overlooked coming into this episode. Now I'm thinking about it, like Animal Bar, Storm in a Teacup, and Death of a Martian. You know, just a lot of songs there. I've got to go back to the second disc more often, because every time I play this, it's always from the start. It has this incredible start. You know, Danny with the Back Off of Snow, and of course, Charlie, and then Stadium Arcadium. You know, and Humpty Bump. 5 really decent tracks there, solid tracks. So yeah, you got the 5 best tracks right off the go from Stadium Arcadium out of 28. But there are still a lot of other songs on there. So yeah, Stadium Arcadium for me, it's just a very special album. Again, it's the second album that was released during my time when I really got into the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So again, it's a nostalgia factor. That's why it sits highly for me. A lot of people say there's a lot of filler on this. Yeah, I can see that. I don't care though. It's just one of those albums I played a lot, and I just have a lot of memories behind. So it sits here. It sits here on my list. And last but not least, of course, the best album the Red Hot Chili Peppers have ever put out to record, with Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Just the best thing I ever heard. Now, funny story about this record. The way I got a copy of it was, I was on holidays once when I was a kid, and you know, hanging around. I think we went to the shop somewhere when we were away somewhere. Anyway, what happened was we were walking around, and there was like this old hippie dude in a van just selling his life belongings, trying to get fuel to go to the next stop. Seriously, the guy looked like Cheech from Cheech and Chong. Anyway, so one of his belongings was this shitty used version of Blood Sugar Sex Magic he was selling for like $15. And I knew the band, I didn't have the record, and I was like, shit, I gotta get this copy, I gotta get this. I never knew. What's this album? I haven't heard it. And, I begged my dad to get it, and yeah, begrudgingly he bought it for me. Anyway, just this really shitty quality of the Blood Sugar Sex Magic CD. Luckily, it didn't skip too much, actually. But anyway, played it a lot, and it sits so highly. I can't speak more highly about this one. It's such a good album that really sees the band becoming one, I guess. And while Mother's Milk sits at the transition between the 80s era to the modern day one, of course, Blood Sugar Sex Magic is the one that broke them into the mainstream and cemented their legacy onwards, because of so many tracks on here. But at the same time, they didn't sacrifice entirely their early origins, because you still have a few tracks on here that harken back to the old days. You know, The Power of Equality for the start, for example, or Funky Monks. Yeah, both of those, really good one. Mellow Ship Slinky in B major. So, you know, you still got these really sick tracks that, I guess, go back and harken to the old days while moving forward, like on Apache Rose Peacock, the Greetings song, and My Lovely Man, which is again another song about Hillel Slovak, and it's not the last one off this album, of course, because the other one would be Under the Bridge. While not directly referenced to him, it kind of is. So yeah, and of course Under the Bridge, which is probably their most well-known song that is put out, except for Californication. And they almost verse each other for the most plays in their catalogue here. Again, over 1 billion streams, people. 1.2 as of recording this episode. So, yeah, look, I mean, going over the rest of the counts here, I guess seems a bit criminally low compared to Californication. You, of course, Give It Away sits up high, and Suck My Kiss too. But other tracks here, you know, Breaking the Girl, yeah, that's a good track to be having. But then there's a lot of tracks that just, I don't know, they're a bit surprising. Apache Rose Peacock, for example, should be much higher. Naked in the Rain, don't know why. The title track, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, yeah, it's alright. I'm surprised that's a bit high up, but it is what it is. And one of these tracks, I'm just trying to remember which one it was, is the first one I learned to play on bass, or at least part of it, I should say. My Lovely Man, that was it. Yeah, just that was like one of the first Red Hot Chili Pepper bass lines I started to learn. Didn't get all the way through, but it's interesting when you're learning it, because when you're starting to learn bass anyway, you shouldn't be focusing on Red Hot Chili Peppers, just because it's very complicated stuff. But I think my bass teacher knew what he was talking about when he mentioned to learn to play My Lovely Man, because, you know, it's not the slap and pop complexities within Flea and his other areas. It's actually a very nice flowing bass line just going up the chords there. So yeah, the way that that one just comes into play is very impressive, I should say. So Psycho Sexy is annoying though. And there is the cover of it's their Red Hot, and I'm trying to remember. It's a cover of like a old school blues song, but I can't remember who did it originally. I think it's a bit more of a traditional arrangement, which is interesting. And again, Castles Made of Sand again makes an appearance there from Mother's Milk. So they knew what they were talking about when they went there, and that was also the first album with, I think it's Roadrunner, didn't they sign on to it? I'm trying to remember now. Warner Brothers. So, fuck. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that was their first record with Warner Records. So yeah, that is the best album that they put out to date. And it's only in the last couple of years actually this has risen up in ranking, because this probably would have been a second or third for me a couple of years ago again. You know, Stadium Arcadium would have been first. No word of a lie. But I guess over some years and just returning to this record just time and time again has made me appreciate it more, fully love it. And in particular, that album cover is just great. You know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers album covers, actually I want to talk about that now. Their album covers have some interesting ones and some shitty ones. So let's go over it very quickly here for a bonus round. But but let's rank it from the beginning here. The first one, the Red Hot Chili Peppers with the red and blue covers. Yuck. Eyesore. 3D artwork of its era. Freaky Styley, again, it just seems like a promo artwork. Just like, okay, we're going to slap a bunch of photos here and just put it on there as a collage. So very, again, of its era. And the Uplift Mofo Party Plan, you can't take it seriously. I hate that one. That's terrible. There's no excuse. So yeah, Mother's Milk is when it starts getting intriguing there. I think that's a pretty cool album cover there, with the lady holding the band up, and you know, just the way that the band is. I think that's pretty slick. Blood Sugar Sex Magic is awesome. The way that they all, you know, are around a rose and out of their mouth comes that design of artwork there. Of course, One Hot Minute, it's okay. I think it kind of feels like the music on the band though there. Californication, iconic. You're not going to go far away from that one. Same with By the Way, iconic for me as well, for different reasons. I think it'll speak to you if you're saying Californication is more iconic than By the Way, because that'll tell you what era of Red Hot Chili Peppers you grew up in. Just saying. Stadium Arcadium, yeah, it's a bit boring, a bit bland on the artwork, but I mean, I look at it and it's just like, yeah, I remember this so well. I'm with you. Okay, I take it back. That's more boring than Stadium Arcadium. Here is a piece of white paper with a piece of MDMA or whatever. I don't know what that is. Medicine with a fly on it. The Getaway, fuck is that? That is I don't like this album artwork actually. When the Getaway, Unlimited Love, I do. I love that album artwork actually. Looking over it, the neon, the design, very. It looks iconic, but it's just deceptive. Damn you, you deceptively lovely album artwork. And then Return of the Dream Canteen. I think that's the personification of what is within. It's just this weird and weirdly eclectic music contained, and yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. And then obviously there was the other one beside me. I like that one. It looks cool, but again, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it, people. That's it for my reviews in regards to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and I'm interested to hear your rankings. I want you to comment below and tell me what are your favourite albums ranked from worst to best of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, because I'm curious to see what you have to say about this. Did you like my list? Did you disagree with some of them? As always, make sure to comment, because I will read them and I will try to respond to them as soon as I can. And I'm always reading people's comments. I'm always curious, because music it's a community. We like to hear what other people have to say about our community. We love this band, and we want them to always be there and be awesome. So again, if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to us and get notifications for future videos. But as always, people, you have a great day and stay spicy. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Live Listen Erased. And if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with all your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our Chilli con Carnage crew so you can get notified for all the future videos that we put out, as we put out videos every Friday. Also, we are on Discord, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter over at Live Listen Erased, so make sure to tune in over there. And don't forget to like this video so that our manager can stay very happy.